Welcome to the School for Ecocentric Evolution and Design Strategies. I'm Hayden.
And I'm Alia.
And today we're going to do a deep dive into some astrology, looking at this particular new moon in Scorpio. But before we do that, we just want to frame astrology from an ecocentric evolutionary standpoint, which is coming from our seeds perspective. So we utilize a lot of evolutionary astrology, which comes from Jeffrey Wolf Green, and a lot of the concepts or things that we've uncovered in our School for Ecocentric Evolution and how that applies to astrology and how we've utilized astrology to create more empowerment, more agency, more acceptance, to be able to step more fully into each moment and accept the evolutionary tasks as they come, both individually and collectively and communally. And so that's one of the main reasons why we use astrology, is it helps us orient to the moment, and we'll kind of show you why. Is there anything when you add to that?
Yeah, we just are finding ourselves in such intense times right now. So much uncertainty, so much collective reckoning and upheaval, deep questioning about how we have been living individually and collectively, and how we want to move forward and live as a people. And so we found astrology as one of many different tools that we draw upon in our seeds work to understand how we can locate ourselves in a particular framework, to understand the nature of the times, what dynamics are present inside and out, and how we can move with as much information, with as much clarity, with as much insight into what is outside of us and what is happening within ourselves.
Exactly. So nothing here that we're pointing to are we considering causal agents of anything happening on Earth, right? So like this conjunction in Capricorn, which we'll talk about, but these aren't causing events to happen. These are archetypal signatures. This is a mere reflection of both our internal and external experience, right? So we have personal planets and we have collective planets that are all mirroring our current experience here on Earth, right? And so they are always moving and creating different dynamics and different relationships that we're tapping into and we're experiencing at any given moment. What we found so helpful about astrology is that literally every month the sun moves into a new sign. This is a new perspective. This is a new way of working with yourself, a new way of uncovering information. And you have all these other planets that are moving around making these aspects at any given time. So with the framework of astrology, we're able to look deeper into our own psyches and also into the collective unconscious as well. Seeing not only what invitations are arising for us to move towards, and then moving towards those and seeing what kind of fruits come from that, and also what invitations are coming up collectively. And right now we're in a real pressure cooker for all of us individually and for us collectively. And so if there's any time than ever that we feel like astrology is an incredibly useful tool, it's right now. And we really, after tracking it deeply over the last year and a half, it's become just blatantly obvious how amazingly accurate it is at mirroring the current archetypal dimensions that are happening here on Earth collectively and also personally.
Yeah, and it's really a remembering of an ancient tool and practice that ancient peoples around the world knew helped mirror back their experiences. We can see in civilizations across the globe evidence of having studied the stars, of having apprenticed and learned from what was happening in the cosmos. And we understand that through a seeds perspective as kind of following the principle as within, so without, that what is happening outside of us at larger scales also can mirror what is happening within us, and that the cosmos mirrors itself at different scales in different archetypal ways. And so the ancient ones developed this framework, really a science for understanding the cosmos and the stars, and now we get to uncover that, like remember that, remember that again, re-encounter that in a time when we collectively really can use all of the tools and practices possible at our disposal to make sense of the complexity of the times that we face.
Yeah, I find it really fascinating that this is a science that evolved right next to language development, evolved right next to mathematics, actually in conjunction with each other, informing and evolving, co-evolving together. And that most of our powerful scientific ideas actually come out of cultures and from individuals that were astrologers primarily, that deeply studied the stars, that deeply studied the patterns of the universe in order to come to new insights about what is real. And this drive to understand what is real is deeply fundamental to the human being. And this isn't a tool to disassociate or to make excuses. This is a tool to come into embodied experience, real experience, deeper and deeper. And so what is happening right now? Let's just start from that standpoint. What is happening right now? Well, we can look around and see we have a third wave of coronavirus spreading across our country. We have continued pressure on our economic systems, on our political systems, on our governmental systems, right? And this is a signature of what has been happening this year in 2020, right? The intense pressure, the breakdown of structures. What is this? This is Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto all conjunct in Capricorn. Conjunct means they're just within a 10-degree orb of each other, and even directly on top of each other, as Jupiter and Pluto have been for the third time here in the last few days. So this right here is really framing all of this, and we'll get into the specific new moon as it relates to us personally and collectively. But this signature here, this conjunction in Capricorn is government, Capricorn is structures. And what's interesting to look at with this whole wheel, starting with Aries, is a story, right? So if we look at Capricorn, it's foundations. Capricorn is what the things we build, the structures that we build our lives upon. Aquarius is the future, which is the next sign. How do you get to the future? Well, you work, you build things in the now. What you build now, the foundations that you build your life upon, create the possibilities for your future outcome. And this is how evolution works. We have to work on the material plane. We have to build, we have to develop, we have to create in order to be able to launch ourselves into the future, to create new possibilities. And this is what the earth and evolution is constantly doing. So Saturn is limitation. Pluto is death. Pluto is death and transformation. And wherever Saturn is, it's providing constriction, it's putting pressure, it's testing, it's limiting, it's time, it's the places in our lives that feel like heavy, but we know we have to do it. We know it's where a lot of the growth is going to come, but we are really resistant to it, you know, and that's really where Saturn is. It's like, the resistance that creates strength.
Yes, and Pluto, like you said, is transformation, it's death, it's composting, it's allowing what needs to fall so that new emergence can come. So when we see the signature, Jupiter there in the middle being the expansion of whatever it is connected to. So in this case, in this final conjunction with Pluto, the expansion of death. This is, a lot of astrologers have been predicting that this third encounter between Pluto and Jupiter would be a third spike in coronavirus. The first was in April, the second was at the end of June, beginning of July, and now the third has just happened this past week, and we're seeing that mirrored in the spike of cases. It's the expansion of death, and in this case, with Saturn there as well, it really speaks to us what of our old systems, our old structures. Capricorn is also patriarchy. It's our economic exchange. It's the systems that hold us collectively, both internally and also externally. What in our old systems and ways of being need to die, need to dissolve, need to be shown their inherent fragility, such that we can create foundations, Saturn, that will stand the test of time, that are more in alignment with the universal laws of nature, that can help launch us as we move into Aquarius into a future that is built on solid ground, that can stand the test of time for the future generations.
Exactly. So Saturn and Pluto, this is a 35-year cycle, but all three of these planets are actually conjunct their own south nodes, which is an evolutionary concept we're not really going to get into, but really what you need to know, this is like a 2,000-year cycle, and that these planets coming together in this way is extremely rare, and it is associated with massive transformation, physical, structural, governmental transformation within human society. And that is what coronavirus and the pressures that it's revealing. What it's revealing is the inherent inadequacies within our systems, right? This is also showing up personally, right? It's putting pressure on the structures of our lives. What are the old structures, the old ways, the old job, the old things that we've created for our lives that are limiting keeping and entrapping and aren't allowing us to live into our full potential. What do we know about the structures of our society? Well, we have a linear-based materials economy that's based on exponential growth curves. Well, we know that this is a totally unsustainable, self-terminating system. We can't keep extracting from the earth, creating goods, consuming those goods, and just throwing them away, and then basing our entire economy on exponential growth. Exponential growth is not a natural thing. It can't continue to exist into the future. What life wants to do, what evolution wants to do, is to continue not only to exist but to express itself more dynamically and more fully into the future. Why this pressure right now? Well, look around, right? We are at the end of a particular manifestation of our society. We're at the end of a particular manifestation of certain types of oppressive governmental structures. Look at our government right now. It cannot communicate. It cannot function. It cannot even solve a problem when we have a global pandemic looming over us. We can't even come together to even talk it through, right? So this is breakdown of previous structures, and this is also reflecting in our personal lives. I want to be clear about that. We have been deconstructing past ways of being, past ways of living, past ways of creating, in order to align ourselves with a more authentic expression, so that we can build a solid foundation to launch ourselves into the future. And if we've been doing that work, then we've really done that, right? This isn't really mirroring itself collectively at the moment, but internally and personally and even communally, we could have created new structures for ourselves. We could be on the edge of living into new ways of being. We could be starting a new life for ourselves, letting go of the past, letting it die. This is the third conjunction, right? So they were going direct, conjunct, they all went retrograde, and now they're all going direct again. So they're not going to be meeting. Jupiter and Saturn are going to be meeting in Aquarius, and that's going to really spark. That's going to be total transformation and totally new ways, new insights, new experiences. But in order to launch ourselves into the future, we have to be seeing clearly. We have to be breaking down what is, and we've been doing this. This has been together in a conjunction really close since April 2019. So we've been in this pressure cooker for a long time, and it is laying the whole foundation for all of these other cycles that are happening, because these are major evolutionary planets that are all sitting together on top of each other in this particular sign. So we can all agree, if we look around at, even our global economy, the way that coronavirus and this particular 2020 has put a pressure, and it started to fracturize these governmental systems. And so we're looking at the breakdown of structures, the beginning to see clearly, what do I need to create? What structures do we need to create in order to liberate myself, right? So this has been a major theme for a large portion of the year, is Mars in Aries. Is there anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, so Mars is the first sign of the zodiac. Mars is springtime. Mars is new beginnings. It's pioneering spirit. It's visionary. It's a fire sign. It's setting out on new terrain. It's looking and doing things that haven't been done before. And Mars is really desire and the will. Mars's home sign is Aries. It's very comfortable here. It's the warrior. It's the one who knows what they need and want and is setting off without any excuses or limitations. Mars has been in Aries for some time, and it went and did a massive retrograde for the last few months, and now it has just within the last couple of days gone direct again. And it right now is making this aspect here, a square is what it's called, which shows some tension involved, and we'll talk about that, between this massive signature here, this conjunction here between these three massive planets. And so there's been this dynamic of what is happening for us, both internally and externally, this invitation to dissolve and to let old systems within and without transform for us, so that they can really be solid ground for us to stand in. That has been in this conversation to our individual desires, our individual wills, our individual self, how we are making sense of what is going on collectively, how it's impacting us, how it's limiting us, how it's actually inspiring us and making us want to move forward with new inspiration, with new vision.
So I just want to say, in what ways is the structures of our society and the current pressures or breakdown of those structures, politically, medically, affecting us personally? This is a square Squares are limitations. Squares are struggles. Squares force us to make change because there's a pressure dynamic here. And Mars went all the way to the very end degrees of Aries, and it's going, and it went all the way back to 15 degrees, and it's coming all the way back again. So these are at 22, 23, 27 degrees. Right now it's at 15 degrees, so it's still in this 10-degree orb, and it has been this whole time, this 3-month retrograde that's been taking place, and it's going to move forward again. So a major theme, and I just want you to reflect on your own personal life is, how do I show up authentically, right? We have this big thing going on collectively. How is that impacting how I want to express myself? You know, like this sense of like, I need to break free, but it's not as simple as that, right? Aries is desires, Mars is will. It's asking the question, how do I obtain my desires? How do I liberate my will to obtain my desires? And clearly, this is in relationship to the structures we've built collectively, right? In what ways is the structures of our world, the governmental systems, the economic systems, creating tension or limiting my ability to achieve my own desires? But it's not as simple as that either. We've been learning so many lessons in Aries about what I particularly want, but a lot of them have been in this conversation too, this direct opposition with Libra. As a lot of the Sun and Mercury has moved through here, and a lot of this this focus on Libra, that I'm learning a lot about what I particularly need, and it's been difficult. This whole thing has been putting pressure on me to figure out, how do I want to express myself? How do I want to move myself authentically in the world? What new structures do I need to create in my life in order to liberate my will so I can move towards my desires in a way that feels good? But it's not just about me, right? We're seeing that, right? This is a collective moment where we're realizing it's not just about me, that my actions actually impact others. Libra is the relationship sign. Libra is the sign that wants to look at everyone's opinions, wants to weigh and balance everyone in order to make a decision that works for all.
It's a sign of balance. It's a sign of justice. It's a sign of harmony. So there's a real tendency with the different planets that have moved through Libra to really give this invitation for, how is this also affecting the collective? How is this felt in my relationship? How am I actually also a product of relationship and impacting relationships in ways that I can't totally ignore and just focus on myself? And so right now there's this opposition with Venus, and this is also making this square here to this collective signature.
His pen is dying on me as we speak. Probably can't see that, but that's a square, that's a square, that's an opposition to Venus. And Venus is love. Venus is earthly experience. It's the joy of being alive. It's beauty in the world. It's relationships too. You know, it's the love of another. It's the love of self. It's the love of body. It's the love of earth.
It's our deepest values.
It's our deepest values. Yeah, it's that sparkle of life, that like, you know, that crisp air that we love so much, or whatever it catches our attention that has beauty. It's beauty. And it's right now in this opposition to our personal will and desires. Venus in Libra. What if we look out at the collective right now? Like, I feel like, man, I just want to see connection. How do we connect with others? How do we build a bridge? How do we begin to understand each other? You know, in this tension, this self and other, and the beauty that comes from relationships is really in this dynamic struggle right now, how the structures we've created are putting tension on experiencing the beauty of connection. Look, with coronavirus right now, we have a holiday season coming up. You know, how much restriction or ability to access beauty through relationship are we feeling, which is just increasing our desire, right? Our desire, Mars, to figure out how to align my personal actions with what I love, which right now that love is focused on connection. That love is focused on relationships
and truth telling too, Libra. There's a real desire for us to be able to have truth, have realness, have honesty that can lead to deeper understanding, deeper harmonization, deeper repair, deeper healing. Right now we're a very polarized people, and Venus there in Libra really speaks to me of really a yearning, a desire for the beauty that comes from healing and repair, from being able to see the humanity in one another across the differences that we might individually be experiencing here with Mars and Aries.
Okay, so we're going to get in here now to this new moon, but I just want to reframe here or just kind of recap what we've been talking about. Again, so the structures have revealed itself around the inadequacies, how they need to break down, how they need to be rebuilt in our personal lives, and we've been doing that. We maybe have already done that personally, and collectively this is really showing up for us, right? The breakdown of the old structures to build the new in order to liberate my personal desires, what I personally want. How do I align my will with what I want in a way that serves the collective and builds better structures in my life to allow for more self-expression, to allow for better relationships. And this is really the evolutionary process, and something we talk a lot about at Seeds, right? It's like when we can align our will and our desires with what is deeply right for us on a soul level and have that be in alignment with what is best for the whole simultaneously, this is when nature and evolution thrives. Like, watch a tree, when it grows, it fully lives into itself, its full treeness, its full expression, desire to grow and expand and spread its leaves and reach for the heights. And in doing so, it drops those leaves on the ground and offers itself, Libra, in a way that balances the system and builds root structures and connections for all of these other organisms to be able to receive. And also, in a sense, that tree is a result of the structure that had already been built
in a healthy ecosystem.
So what we look at a lot at Seeds is how can we build better systems, better structures? How can we design for ecocentric evolution that honors the individual and the collective in a way that creates this mutual beneficial, harmonious relationship that allows for the expression of self and the whole to continue into the future. And this was what we really think is the evolutionary invitation of the moment, through seeing the inadequacies of the systems that we built and knowing we're smarter than this. We have a lot of information. We're life and consciousness awakened to itself, inside itself, that has the capacity to see patterns, design in relationship to those patterns to benefit the whole and the individual. It's not the you can see kind of the dichotomy between the two, right? Like this, it's all about me sort of conservative stance, you know, don't force me to wear a mask. Or then the other side, like, it's all about the collective, like we really need to care for the collective. Well, how do we actually care for all of them? How do we not polarize between collective and self? How do they become in alignment? Well, it's through our design systems and what we choose to build collectively. But look, we can't build something new collectively unless we look at what's happening under the surface. Scorpio is what's hiding below the surface. Scorpio is taboo. Scorpio is wound. Scorpio is trauma. Scorpio is transformation, but transformation through encountering emotional wounds. Countering, looking at, and actually communicating about, having conversations with others about what's really happening beneath the surface.
Yes, Scorpio is a water sign. It's a sign of deep emotions and feelings, the pain and the wounds, the karmic sort of underpinnings of how things have been in the past that are wanting to be revealed and brought up above the surface, to be seen, with the invitation for greater integration, to be able to welcome in, to heal, to hear what needs to be seen, that in the past may have been repressed or pushed away, but now with this new moon, which is, new moons are the seed of new beginnings, new starts, fresh insights, They're a time of literal seed planting. If you're in connection with those rhythms in terms of farming and planting seeds, it's a beautiful time. It's a good time to plant a seed. It's also a great time to plant seeds of new intentions. And this one seems to be speaking of how can we do that courageous work to uncover within ourselves, to make space between ourselves, to invite in what has been pushed down in the darkness, but is asking to be revealed, is asking to be seen, is asking to be healed, to be reckoned with, such that we can build these foundations where there isn't fissures or inadequacies in those foundations, so we can move collectively forward to what is being asked and really needed of us at these times.
Exactly. Thank you, Elia. We can't build what we want. We can't live the life we want without other people, without the systems and structures in order to support our lives now and into the future. And we can't build those without radically honest communication. And this is something that we've seen a breakdown too collectively in our society. Scorpio is taboos. How many taboos are in our culture, like things we shouldn't or can't talk about? Well, we need to start talking about them. We need to start bringing everything to the surface. What's hidden needs to reveal itself in order to say yes to this evolutionary invitation of the moment and start transcending this suffering and this hyperpolarization that's leading to massive amounts of conflict and violence. If we continue in this direction, we got to figure out how to have hard conversations, right? And if we want to transform our personal lives to be in more right of relationship, if we want to say yes to the new structures that we've been building and that are emerging, and if we want to honor those relationships that we're embedded with in a way that we can receive beauty from them, we got to be able to talk. We got to be able to talk to our romantic partners. We got to be able to talk to our deepest relationships. We got to be able to talk to our communities so we can experience the gift of life. Venus and Libra, this is Venus's home sign. It wants us to experience the gift of deep relationality with the web of life, to honor all life. But we can't do that unless we have these deep conversations to talk about what's been getting in the way, these emotional wounds that are old, that are no longer serving us, right? That's what's coming to the surface. Why? Because Pluto and Jupiter have been sitting together in Capricorn for a long time. This has been shedding layer after layer after layer of our lives. And now we're looking at, and we have been, but now we're really looking at what are these last little emotional pieces here? What are these last little wounds or these shadows that have been holding me back from truly saying yes to something new? To living fully into what I've been trying to create, what has felt right, how fully into this new world that we are being called to create as Saturn and Jupiter move into Aquarius. That's going to be obvious. We aren't going back. We are not going back. And if you're attached to the past, this is going to be really hard. Why? Because if you're attached to the past, then you've been holding on to a fractured foundation. And when Saturn and Jupiter come together in Aquarius, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, which is expansion, explosion, transformation. Think of it as a rocket ship taking off of the platform, Capricorn. If you don't have a solid foundation, if you haven't been doing the work of deconstructing the old, fixing the cracks, building something new for yourself that's better, that can launch you into the future in a good way, then this is going to be and has been an incredibly difficult time. And it's been difficult for all of us, but there is new possibilities coming, new gifts arising, new ways of being able to connect to each other. And really, I think on the local level, technology, we're going to be connecting through the internet and sharing inspirational ideas, but really this is a ground rooted. Where are our structures? Where are our communities? How can we change what is here and where we live to align with the future world that we want to create, and then share that information with each other in order to allow for us to live more personally into our life expression and honor the collective. So right now is the time to lean into those hard conversations. We also have Mercury in Scorpio as well. This is communication and this is the mind. It was retrograde and now it's coming back, right? So it's making its third pass over some particular landscapes in Scorpio, allowing us to review for ourselves again. What is keeping me from manifesting the life of my dreams? This is the opposition to Uranus. So this is Uranus over here in Taurus. Uranus is a collective planet, but it's transformation and revolution, and it's in Taurus, which speaks to Uranus is also the higher mind, right? So this is the evolutionary impulse coming from the future itself, pulling us towards our highest possibilities. This is archetypal forms in a lot of ways that call us to something new, that force us to let go of the old and totally transform. It's in Taurus, which is an earth sign, which is about manifestation. This wants to call us all collectively to manifest a new way of relating with the earth. It's also the sign of agriculture. Look at our agricultural system. We need a revolution there. We got a lot of catastrophes coming our way because of the way that we've cultivated our food. We need to transform that. We need to transform our personal relationships and our collective relationships with the earth and start manifesting a life that's in right relationship, that's healing for all beings. Opposition to Mercury right now, right? There's emotional wounding. There's attachments to past ways of being, Scorpio, that need to be revealed, communicated, and understood in order for us to move towards our highest potential manifestation.
Yes, so this might be a time when new insights, new ideas, new types of conversations are more accessible for us in terms of our relationship to the earth, meaning that grounded, centered way of feeling within ourselves, our own stability within ourselves, a deepened understanding or insight about what gets in the way of feeling a real sense of resilience and groundedness within ourselves, but also within ourselves in relation literally to the earth and our own process of feeding ourselves in a good way, of building a life that's in right relationship with the earth. This is a really potent signature where new insights, new clarity may be coming in that allows us to reconceptualize that, to have revolutionary conversations with one another, to dream and to imagine together, to really use our mind, both the lower octave and the higher octave of the mind, to conceptualize new possibilities for how we could live as humans in relationship with the earth.
Exactly. So you may be thinking, well, like, I don't know how to do that, or it seems so challenging, it seems so difficult. How can I go about doing that? Well, this is a major helping ally at the moment, and you probably this pen is no longer working, so you're not going to see any lines
just
being
imagine
drawn.
A line
imagine a line from there to there. But this is Neptune in Pisces, and it's in a trine to this new moon. Neptune excuse me, is intuition. Neptune is our highest spiritual knowing. It can also be confusion and murkiness because it's timeless, it's multidimensional. It's the complete opposite of Saturn, where Saturn is time, embodied, linear. Neptune is non-linear. Neptune is multidimensional. Neptune is spiritual. Neptune is intuition. It's that part of ourselves that goes, I have no idea why I need to do this, but something is pulling me and telling me I need to do this, and I'm just gonna do it. And then you do it, and maybe it was hard, maybe it was challenging, but it was exactly what needed to be done, and you have no idea how that all lined up. That's Neptune. And Neptune right now is inviting us to trust our intuition, that there's a sense of divine guidance coming in right now in spite of all the chaos, in spite of what's reflecting itself outside of ourselves in community and in the world right now, the confusion we may be experiencing. There is an internal guidance, there's an inner voice, there's an inner whisper from our higher selves that are calling us forward in ways that are mysterious and unknown. But if we can listen to that and say yes to that, this path can begin to unfold for us. And even more so is that Neptune is going to be making these squares to the nodes. And it's actually in that right now. It's going to be moving more direct. The nodes are our evolutionary directions, right? So the collective north node is in Gemini, and we see this. Gemini is duality. Gemini is communication. The north node, the evolutionary impulse, is how do we communicate across polar divides? Two opposites. How do we communicate between that? That's the evolutionary invitation, which is obviously why it's really challenging, because that's the focus.
And Gemini too is really a playful sign. It's an air sign. It's a joyful sign. So how do we find a sense of creative freedom, of creative liberation, of playfulness, of joy, of gratitude for the gift of life amidst the heavy intensity, the real lived experience that so many people are feeling in this country and around the world? How do we, which is our collective invitation as a north node, it's the evolutionary pull for us collectively, how do we remember the joy and the gift of life amidst this hardship, these challenges, these material plane difficulties and fears and anxieties and worries? How do we still stay connected to that lighthearted, childlike wonder at this gift of life that's being given to us?
And be able to talk about what's real.
Yes.
And with Neptune making a square here, I'm just going to say this is going to be confusion, right? This is going to be a pull to the past, south node, and a push to the future. And how do I don't know, should we go back? Is there even a going back? Like, should we go back to something else, to something better, you know, that was before? Or what is this unknown path to the future? I don't even know what that is or where we're going, but like, that's where we need to go. And look, Sagittarius wants to be a playful, free, kind of careless, in a sense, energy. It wants the horizons. It wants adventure.
Yeah,
that's our old way, right? Like right now, we can't do that. Look, coronavirus is locking us down. The world is shutting down. You can't take travelers from these different countries. Like, there's all sorts of problems going on. We can't just be carefree and wanderlust and adventurous, and yeah, to some extent we can in our personal lives, but collectively we have to figure out how to communicate across polarities. This is the way forward. It's not ignoring and just somehow creating in our own minds
sort of an escapism or
some better experience that lives in the past.
Maybe I'll move out of the United States, get somewhere else other than this. That's the old way. That's an escape strategy. Really, we're being asked, how do we communicate? How do we find common ground amidst the polarity of our times? And
Neptune again making this square. So again, it's not going to be clear. It's not going to be clear. There is, and in our own personal lives, there's going to be this struggle between the past and the future. And all this work that we've done, if we've been doing the work, is lining us for the future. And what that's saying is like, look, the fear now isn't about the past. The fear now is about the future. It's about, can we actually make this as beautiful as we want to? Can I actually live into this new life that I've been trying to create for ourselves? Can we actually create something different collectively in order to do this? What if we can? And that's the question. What if we can? Well, maybe we're going to have to follow a thread of intuition. Maybe it's not going to be so clear. Maybe it's going to be a little bit murky. We're going to have to trust a higher source to help move us through and navigate this divide and move towards this initiation experience, move towards this higher level of being. We got to talk. Right now, the invitation is we got to talk. We got to uncover for ourselves what's hidden below the surface. We have to look at our emotional wounding. We have to let that go so that we can move forward in new ways, in ways in which we've been wanting to and needing to, both individually and collectively. Yeah, so I think that's probably enough for now, and we're hoping to be able to make more of these and share these with you all if you find them useful or valuable. We find it really helpful because it's just, to us, it's just so what is, you know. And right now, like, these invitations, like, there's some hard conversations that need to happen. Should I have them? Should I not have them? Well, right now it feels like yes,
this is a good
those are
time.
Good things. This is good times to just speak your truth.
Collective healing process is being invited through those hard conversations, that revealing of what has been unsaid. And
if we're annoyed about the structures of our jobs, our lives, and we can't find that beauty in our connection with others, and we're striving to figure out how to express our personal authentic selves that benefits all of it, we need to have the conversations. This is what's going to lead this to unfolding for us in a more beautiful way, to being able to come together and design better systems that work for everybody in order for ourselves to be more liberated and to experience the joy of life.
Yes, and there's a real spiritual potency in these times, making this trine and just being able to invite and let in that spiritual potency, knowing that it is really an incredible gift to be alive in these times, and that there is this intuitive knowing that lives in each of us that is striving to be able to help us move towards our most whole, authentic, healed version of ourselves. And we really believe that the earth is also expressing this evolutionary impulse towards creating life-giving conditions for itself through
Yes.
us as conscious human actors and agents
Yes.
of her own impulse. So
Yes.
this is just another way to say that and to invite that. And
Yeah. And we just want to honor that things are really intense collectively.
yes.
And there's a lot of suffering happening, you know, and that this experience is happening on multiple dimensions at once, right? That we've been doing a lot of individual work. A lot of people have been doing a lot of individual work to shed old things, to step into new things. And yet simultaneously, these structures that are falling are affecting a lot of people's lives. And so we feel that it's actually our responsibility to grow something new, and that these new structures are going to grow out of these hard conversations we're having with our loved ones, our friends, our family members, in our communities, to choose something different,
to
to
have
choose something,
conversations about how we can be in more
how-
right
more right-
relationship to the earth right where we are
yes,
in our communities. How can we orient ourselves in a different way that can be more life-serving, life-giving
right.
for ourselves in the future?
Because if we're looking out and seeing what's happening collectively and are deeply impacted by it, and want something different, want everyone's voice to be heard, want people to feel loved, want a sense of belonging and hope to return again, then it's not going to come from this right now. It's not going to come from the top down. The old systems that are crumbling underneath their feet. They can't function well. They're going to come from these deep conversations that we're having with ourselves and others, the seeds that we're planting in our local communities, and the change that we're willing to bring into the world for our own selves, to be in right relationship with our deepest soul calling, and with each other, and with our communities, and with the more than human world.
Yes.
This is the invitation of the times, and if we plant these seeds wherever we are, they can start to grow, and they can start to help each other, and sooner or later we're going to find new structures are born in this country that honors the individual fully, and our individual soul expression, and the collective, and helps us all come together in a way that is harmonizing, liberating, and healing for not only us, but the more than human, the earth itself, for life itself, and for evolution.
Yes.
And this invitation in the moment. So thanks so much for joining us for this conversation. We hope you enjoy, and
Please give us feedback. We are just students of astrology. We're learners. Thank you for letting us share what we've been learning and benefiting from along the way with you.
All the best.
Well.